All right, GenAI-powered requirement analysis. Okay, let's dive deeper into requirement analysis and see how generative AI can really make a difference. To make it super clear, let's see a real-world example. Imagine you're working with a big online shopping company, like an e-commerce giant. They want to add a cool tool, new features to the website and app, recommended products. The idea is to boost sales and keeps customers happy by suggesting items they might like based on what they have looked at before or bought in the past. Think about when you're browsing on your favorite online store and you see those sections like you might also like, or customer who bought this item also bought. This is exactly what we are talking about. Now, in the requirement analysis phase, we need to really understand everything about this recommended products feature. What exactly should it do? How will it get the data about browsing history and purchases? Where on the website and app will these recommendations show up? What kind of recommendation are we talking about? Just similar items, or maybe things that complement what they have already bought? This is where generative AI can be incredibly helpful. It can help us ask the right question, dig into details, and make sure we have thought about all the angles of this new feature before we can even start testing it. We're going to use this recommended products scenario to really understand how GenAI plays a role in this crucial first step of the software testing lifecycle. So keep this online shopping example in mind as we explore the power of AI in requirement analysis. Okay, let's get into how generative AI helps us in requirement analysis, specifically in clarifying those initial requirements. Think back of our e-commerce company wanting to add a recommended product feature. Now, when the development team first described this feature, it might be pretty broad. Something like we wanted to suggest products to users based on their activity. That's good as a starting point. But for testing, we need way more detail, right? This is where generative AI can step in and act like a super inquisitive analyst. It can start asking clarifying questions to really nail down what this feature is supposed to do. Let's look at a couple of examples. First question, generative AI might ask, do you want to base the recommendation based on individual user activity, or should we also include trends from similar user profiles? Just think about that for a second. If it's just based on individual activity, it means the recommendations are purely based on what you have personally browsed or bought. But if you include trends from similar user profile, it means that the system will also look at what people who are like you, maybe similar age, location, shopping habits, are also interested in. See the difference? For testing, this is huge. If you're using similar user profiles, we need to test how the system defines similar, how it groups users, and if these group recommendations are actually relevant. Let's take another question generative AI might ask. Should the recommendation be adjusted based on seasonal trend or special promotions? This is also super important. Imagine it's almost Christmas. Should the recommendation change to just more gift-related items or items that are popular during the holiday season? Or what if there is a big sales going on? Should the recommendation prioritize discounted items? Again, for testing, this changes everything. We need to test if the system correctly picks up on seasonal trends, if it updates recommendation based on promotions, if these dynamic recommendations are working as expected. These kind of questions asked by generative AI are incredibly valuable. They help us refine the scope of the recommended products features. They make sure that the system team consider all these different dimensions, individual versus group behavior, seasonal changes, promotions. When we are planning our test, we're clarifying these requirements upfront. Generative AI ensures that we're testing the right things and we are not missing any crucial aspects of this new feature. It's all about making sure we have a crystal clear understanding of what we are building and testing right from the start. Alright, let's talk about another really cool way generative AI helps us in requirement analysis. It can actually suggest focus areas for our testing. Think of it as generative AI helping us decide where to spend most of our testing strategy for the best impact. Let's go back to our e-commerce company and the recommended products feature. Imagine generative AI is analyzing market trends and user feedback data. It is looking at things like how people are using the website and app, what devices they are using, and what kind of shopping experiences they prefer. Based on this analysis, generative AI might come up with a really insightful suggestion. It might say, hey, based on our current trends, it looks like most of our users are actually shopping on their mobile phones. And to really make these product recommendations effective, you might consider using machine learning to better predict what users want. Think about that. Generative AI is not saying what the feature should do, but also how it should be implemented and where we should focus our testing efforts. Suggesting machine learning is a big deal because it means that the recommendation can become much smarter and more personalized over time, adapting to user behavior. And suggesting to prioritize mobile testing is crucial because if most users are on mobile, we need to make absolutely sure the recommended products feature works flawlessly on phones and tablets. This suggestion from generative AI is incredibly valuable for testing team. It prompts us to really prioritize testing the feature specifically for mobile use. Why? Because it's aligned perfectly with actual user habits where people are actually doing their shopping. It also makes technical sense. If you're using machine learning, we need to test how well that AI performs in mobile environment, considering things like network speeds and device capabilities. So in this case, GenAI is acting like a smart strategist, guiding us to focus our testing efforts in the most impactful areas. It's helping us align our testing strategy with real user behavior and technical feasibility, making sure we're not just testing everything equally, but really focusing on what matters most for the success of recommended product features. It's about being smart and strategic right from the requirement analysis phase. Okay, let's talk about another super practical way GenAI is transforming requirement analysis. It can actually help us generate acceptance criteria. Now, acceptance criteria might sound a bit technical, but they're really important for making sure we're all on the same page about what done looks like for a feature. Think of it this way. We often describe features using user stories, simple way to explain a feature from the perspective of the person who will use it, the user. For our recommended product feature, use a sample user story. As a frequent shopper, I want to see products related to my most recent purchases displayed prominently so that I can find complementary items easily. See. It's from the shopper's point of view, explaining what they want to achieve. Now, accepting criteria are like the checklist that tells us if their user story has been successfully implemented. They are the specific condition that must be met for us to say, yes, this feature is working as expected and meets the user's need. This is where generative AI comes in to be incredibly helpful. Based on our user stories like the one we just saw, generative AI can automatically generate acceptance criteria. Let's look at an example of the acceptance criteria that generative AI might create for our user story. The system should display at least 3 related product recommendations within 5 seconds of identifying related user action. Let's break this down. The system should display the 3 related product recommendation. This is a clear, measurable condition. We can actually count if at least 3 recommendations are showing up. Within 5 seconds of identifying a related user action, this adds a performance aspect. It's not just about if recommendations appear, also how quickly they appear after user does something, like viewing a product or adding something to their cart. These acceptance criteria are gold for testers. That gives us various specific testable points to verify. For this example, tester know they need to check. Are at least 3 recommendations displayed? Are they actually related to recent purchases? And do they appear within 5 seconds? These criteria guide testers to comprehensively verify the functionality of a recommended product feature. They make sure we are not just testing randomly, but we're focusing on key aspects that define success for this feature from the user perspective. By generating these clear and testable acceptance criteria, GenAI is making requirement analysis much more effective and test-focused. It helps bridge the gap between user needs and concrete testing conditions, ultimately enabling us to ensure higher quality software before it even gets launched. It's like having a smart assistant that translates user stories into actionable testing guidelines. All right, let's get even more practical and look at a real example of how we can use generative AI to generate acceptance criteria. We are still in the context of our e-commerce web application. We're focusing on these user stories we have been talked about. Imagine we get a document full of user stories for our recommended products and maybe other parts of the e-commerce site. Now, instead of manually writing acceptance criteria for every user story, which can be a really time-consuming task, we can use a tool like ChatGPT to help us out. On this slide, you can see a screenshot of ChatGPT in action. On the left side, you see a prompt box. This is where we give a ChatGPT instructions. In this example, the prompt is super straightforward. From these uploaded user story, give the user acceptance criteria for the testing team. Basically, we are telling ChatGPT, hey, I'm giving you these user stories. Now please generate the acceptance criteria that testing team can use. Look at what ChatGPT spits out on the right side. It's amazing. Based on the user story we provided, which is in document, as you see that, docx, ChatGPT has generated a list of acceptance criteria. It's even categorized them broader goals like improve user engagement, increase sales conversion rate. Let's look at some of the specific acceptance criteria it came up with under improve user engagement. It suggests product recommendation update dynamically based on user browsing histories and previous purchases. That's great. Testable creation. It tells testers they need to verify that their recommendations aren't static, but actually change as user browse and buy things. Another one is user reviews are visible and can be stored can be sorted by newest, highest rated, and most helpful. Again, very specific and testable. Testers can check if reviews are indeed visible and if the sorting options are working correctly. And finally, the feature facilitates at least a 10% increase in average time spent on a website per session. This is a more business-oriented acceptance criterion, focusing on the impact of the feature on user behavior. Testers would need to measure user session times to see if this goal is being met. This example really shows the power of generative AI in action. With a simple prompt, ChatGPT can analyze user stories and generate relevant testable acceptance criteria. This can save testers a huge amount of time and effort in the requirement analysis phase, allowing them to focus on more complex testing tasks and ensuring that the software we build truly meets user needs and business objectives. It's like having an AI assistant that understands user stories and then automatically translate them into concrete testing guidelines.
Analyzing requirements using GenAI. So in this demo, our objective is to analyze requirements and generate detailed acceptance criteria for the user stories using ChatGPT for enhancing the software testing lifecycle. The tool that is required here is ChatGPT 4, and there are no prerequisites. We just need to know the English, plain English, and because we will be using English to interact with ChatGPT here. So this is our ChatGPT UI, or the web page, wherein we will improve our user stories and we will try to put some prompts to interact with the ChatGPT or generative AI model of OpenAI. So the first prompt that we have here is improve product recommendations based on user activity. So we are setting some context with it. And hence tracking of user behaviors, utilize machine learning models, session-based recommendations, personalized through user profiles. So we got this output, right? Now, based on this, we are giving a clarification prompt so that it has more context. So the prompt that we are giving here is given the requirements to improve product recommendation based on user activity. What specific questions should I ask the development team to clarify this requirement? So it has given us these questions. What users' activity are currently tracked? Do we have sufficient data to support advanced recommendation algorithm? How personalized are current recommendations? Can current infrastructure support real-time data processing and so on? So these kind of questions it has prepared. So based on this context, we will be asking next set of questions, or we will give new prompt to it. So the new prompt look like this. So based on previous discussion where we identified need to clarify the initial requirements of improving the product recommendations based on user activity, and there are two specific questions. First, what specific user activities are currently tracked that could influence product recommendation? What additional user activity data do we need to improve recommendations? So here we are setting the context, and here we are asking for the task to do. So could you help draft a more detailed requirement that addresses these points? Please include any assumptions or conditions that might affect the implementation of these features. Okay, so based on the user activity, these are the current state assessment, gaps and opportunities, enhancements, success metrics, conditions, everything is mentioned here. Now here, we will try to upload in this exercise, we will also try to upload the market and user data to generate targeting suggestions using prompt provided. The prompt that we are going to provide here. So let me paste it and find the data set. Okay, I am just selecting it. So yes, I have uploaded these files based on the following: user feedback and market analysis. So based on the following user feedback and market analysis, what area should we focus on to improve our software application? We will send it to the ChatGPT. It will call internal tools to analyze this file and respond to us. So user feedback here is, that user feedback product recommendations don't match my interest. I want recommendation based on my recent searches and purchases. Market trend says growing use of deep learning for real-time recommendations. Trend towards incorporating user-generated content into product and recommendations. Performance and responsiveness, so user feedback is recommendations take too long to load. So these kind of, recommendations that we get after analyzing this data. Now, in the subsequent prompt, we will ask to adjust the priority or deprioritize or prioritize our recommendations and focus on a key area. So the prompt for this is here. So prioritize deep learning integration, expand data analytics capabilities, enhance personalization and variety, adopt agile methodologies. So these kind of things we need to focus on. So this is what we got to know from ChatGPT by uploading this data and playing around with the prompts and instructions. In the next step, we will try to upload user stories. You will know how to ask the acceptance criteria for the user stories to ensure it meets the user needs. Now we will upload the data as well as the prompt. So here's the prompt. What should be the acceptance criteria for this user story to ensure it meets the user need? So I will upload the file. So I am uploading the file here, user stories. Okay, something went wrong. Let me retry it. Okay, so the user stories are attached here. We can send the prompt as well as the data. Let us see what response comes from the ChatGPT. So the recommendation must update it dynamically based on items viewed during the current and previous browsing sessions test. User testing shows that at least 80 of relevant score are rated by users in surveys. These kind of interactions, journal interactions we have, user data analysis, real-time contextual relevance. So for each of these, we are having the acceptance criteria that, recommendation aligned with typical user shopping habits during a specific time with an accuracy of 85. System load speed recommendation. System loads within 2 seconds for 95 of the time. So these are the, acceptance criteria that ChatGPT came up with, right? So with these prompts and with these data sets, we are now able to, successfully analyze requirements, and we generated the detailed acceptance criteria to enhance the software testing cycle. So thank you for watching this video. We will see you in the next one.